Okay, so among the many things that we've been speaking about, Maza,
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing about like this platform and this series, right? The fact that
Hmm.
we can, at least in the space of the branding, ideologies, or advertising, or mediascape, there's a lot that you can talk
Yeah.
about.
Yes.
But one thing that we started looking at least from the perspective of how it has changed the world, not in the modern context, but in the postmodern context, is how media, how advertising, how branding has become so omnidirectional now. Where it was like before, it was just one-sided from a brand or a company alone, and now they need a different set of people essentially.
Yeah.
The modern day brand ambassadors, so to speak, um,
Pretty much modern day brand ambassadors. Yes.
to sort of get their message across. And the key phrase here is essentially influencers. Those are the type of people,
Yep.
right? And
Oh, God.
just to put wait, hold on. Just to put things in context, exactly. Just to put things in context, the conversation that we've been having, and we've been having on and off for a while now, is is this concept of influencers only hype? Is it all hype? And does
Yeah.
it really
Is there any
provide the
relevancy?
exactly? Does it provide the ROI in terms of numbers, like the return on
Yeah.
investment necessary? Is it really something of a phase, a fad, so to speak? Um,
Yep.
I think Masang, I mean, you and I have differing viewpoints on it, not essentially opposing each other, but from tangents to one another. So
Different ways of looking at it. Yeah.
exactly. So why don't you go ahead first?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Do you think
it
influencers
is
are all
funny
hype?
that I think they are. Yeah, I think definitely they are overhyped. Like, calm down, yo. Like, because here's my point, right? Because if they become to the level where you are an influencer and you are overhyped, and then you get to the point where the late great brand ambassadors were, right? Here's the thing. Here's the kicker. So obviously before influencers we had brand ambassadors, right? The only difference was brand ambassadors were represented by celebrities, not just regular people, just like you and me, right? But the problem, I mean, it worked for a long time because they were able to influence you in your decision making, right? But there was always this problem of celebrities being untouchable, right? Extremely rich people, they're extremely successful in their careers and just a regular lifestyle. So you can't really imagine that, you know, just because like Gal Gadot says, you know, like, hey, I'm using a OnePlus, so maybe you should too, and she's just tweeting that shit on like her iPhone. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna buy that phone for it, right? So there was this always this question of here's like a celebrity, like a brand ambassador, and here's the end consumer. There was this huge untouchable like gap between those two like people, right? So what happened was because of that they were not able to necessarily do that, kind of close that gaps where people can relate, and therefore the authenticity levels were always down, which is a huge thing when it comes to obviously purchasing decisions, right? Especially in a media where now information is just on you from multiples of people. It's really hard to find authenticity, and that's where influencers come into the picture, right?
Yeah.
So if you are a good influencer, you fill two boxes. Number one, you are authentic, because it will be someone who's just like you, just down the block, who might be having a very sort of a good following and a good personality, good values behind that person, that really says, you know what, I can trust this guy because I know this guy, right? And then the other one is relatability. Because of the kind of lifestyle that person has, there's a certain sense of authenticity and relatability that you can have with this person, which means that if that person starts using a certain product or service, I'm willing to definitely give it a shot, just because I know that this guy is like this. Unlike a celebrity where you for sure you know that by contract this person's being paid to do it.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
influencers, you don't really think about it. However, are influencers overhyped? That is a question, right? So I feel like if an influencer comes to the point where they become overhyped, they kind of slowly began to detach from the consumer and become go to that end spectrum of celebrity level. And when you get to that point where you come to a level where you're sort of untouchable and you kind of slip off that authenticity level and relatability level, and there go, it definitely serves a purpose. Yes, they are overhyped and therefore it might not even work later on. So if I was a client, if I were to put my money on it, yes, I would definitely go and look for the kind of people who has a following, but not necessarily who has a huge following, just with a huge absorbent amount of like people. Maybe I will look for somebody who seems like an up and coming, who's got a really good following coming on board, who has a good personality, who has a good viewpoint, who has a good opinion. That's the kind of person that I would go with, because I know for a fact that that person will check the box relatability and relevancy and authenticity more importantly. That's what I feel.
I think you're right in the context of, I agree with you when it comes to the whole aspect of relatability, Machan. I think when you take the former, let's say a brand ambassador, and when you take it from the perspective of a celebrity, that is more of an aspirant character. So the idea was that, or rather at least what the brand itself or the company's idea was, that here is this person that people aspire to become. Here is this person that people look up to, and we are going to try and place our product or service next to this person so that it's associated with that same feeling. So while you feel good about the celebrity or the brand ambassador, like, by the way, there is this product or service that he endorses as well. But you're right when it says that there is a money factor behind it. Just to play devil's advocate a bit, and to look at, let's say, a pro of an influencer, right? And this, I think it's important to define who we are talking about as an influencer here. We are talking about the up and coming YouTubers. We are talking about those who are on TikTok. We are talking about Instagrammers, people who essentially has created a following for themselves organically.
Let's talk about that. Just to cut it down, so it becomes a little easier. Let's say who is an influencer, or who is a person out there on the socials who influences you in some way. Bring up a name, so that you can take that as an example and stretch your idea.
So I think again that comes to the point, Majan, that I was trying to make. It works because it's niche, right? Which you can't do with a celebrity. Celebrity is wide reaching, and their demographic and the reach that they have might be from an 18-year-old kid in UK to like a 50-60-year-old person who is in Australia or Singapore. So it's very wide. Whereas an influencer might be very niche in a particular thing, right? The reason why I'm saying that is, so from my perspective, if I take an international person that I would consider as an influencer, it would be Philip DeFranco. He's been a veteran YouTuber for 10 plus years. He's been
so many years.
He's been running a no BS news, almost like a news network, where he essentially looks at any news article from multiple sides, the left and the right. He gives his own opinion, and then he puts it out to his audience to comment and suggest what they feel about it. And these are serious topics as well, from legal matters to matters pertaining to rights, like social rights and situations that have taken place, to even on the social media landscape itself, things that have happened. And he is an influential figure in the platform itself. And to me, I consider him a source of news and information. So sort of cut through the clutter, so to speak. Do I see something like that at this point in Sri Lanka, like an information-centric, something serious as a content creator or an influencer? Not necessarily as such. There are a few, absolutely. There are some important online personalities that do profess information, but most of them are on either a comic or a very juvenile state, to be fair. So getting back to my point, I think one of the best things about an influencer is the fact that they can reach a niche audience. And you might have, for example, I will shamelessly plug in myself into this just to give it as an example, right?
Mm.
So I I run an academic, a legal support channel, right? So I provide academic support
Yep.
for law students around the world.
And what is it called?
It's called the Law
What is it called?
Simplified. Thank you for helping me plug that
At
in.
YouTube, you can
Check that out in
check
the
that out.
description below. It's a shameless plug, man. But nonetheless, if you take my channel, it has a modest following, but it does have a following
Yeah.
spread across a very specific type of audience. It is law
Yep.
students studying common law or English law across whatever number of countries around the world, and the channel content completely revolves around either academics, the substance of the law for different subjects, as well as examination
Yeah.
technique, study techniques, and so on, right? Now, this modest audience, essentially, the eyeballs that come to my site, the demographics, are spread almost evenly across male and female, but
Yeah.
mostly between the ages of 18 and 40. So you have professionals who are getting into law, as well as students themselves. But
Yeah.
if you take it from a perspective of a brand or a client, let's say a stationery manufacturer or someone who makes like pens, books, it makes perfect sense for them to partner with with a channel like mine, specifically
Yeah.
to try and target the audience, because it works, right? It is a
Yeah.
product or service that the student would use, and
Mm.
positioning them aside a person that is being watched by that audience clicks. It makes sense.
And I think that goes on. Sorry, and I think that goes on to kind of classify what might a good influencer be. What's a good characteristics, and that kind of goes on to say what exactly, because when you've started this channel for a very long time and you haven't seeked out any sort of like third party to come in and say, hey, by the way, give me ads to put or whatever. Your sole purpose to have this channel has been to put out your content and educate people and have a little bit of and have an introduction to who you are. So that is exactly the only thing that you do, and you do it well. I would hope so, given that you have a pretty modest following. That you have a modest following. I'm sure you're doing pretty good.
I
And
appreciate
know
the
that you have-
confidence, Masang.
I don't know. You have a bunch of milestones. I think about 100,000 subscribers. 10,000.
I wish. I'm still at 57,000.
Okay, that's a huge following.
That's
right?
why I said. That's
mean,
why I said modest.
that's-
100,000.
You have
plus is not
50,000. You have 50,000 nerds who come to your channel to learn thought like law.
I have 50 plus thousand interesting souls who want to better themselves in law. Okay, let's
It's
put
all
that
right.
into
I was a part of
perspective.
Khan Academy, so that's all good. But my point being, right, that goes on to say that what a good influencer is the fact somebody who really has rooted themselves and defined who they are and kind of gone out there and shown the fact that I am not necessarily here to influence you. I'm here to give you what I do, and if you have something great to take out from it, that's great. So even when it comes to the time where a brand comes and says, hey, would you mind telling your audience about this product, you and the people who is following you will take it much better than if you would have been doing that for a very long time and all the time. For example, if you take a YouTuber, another veteran of YouTube, probably the godfather of vlogging, Casey Neistat, you're a big fan, and I'm a big fan. So he's somebody who has nailed this. His YouTube content is 90% about his life, career, work-life balance, and running and aspirations, all of these things. And it's about, and there's another percentage that is just where he talks about product reviews and all of this stuff, just out of interest and curiosity. And then there's this 2% where he talks about a paid product, where he was paid to talk about it or something. And even when he does it, he says that, look guys, I'm paid to do this and that's why I'm doing it, but I genuinely like this product and that's also why I'm doing it. And when it comes to that, even as a listener, you know that 98% of the content that you're getting out of him are authentic, relatable, relevant things that matters to you, and there's no agenda behind it.
Mm.
So the 2% that he would give you as a commercial or as an paid ad, you are willing to take it. Definitely.
I think, Masang, you brought a good point there, because it's beneficial for the brand as well when you have an influencer or a personality online that really resonates and has built a community around the audience that he or she has. Because unlike a celebrity, right? When you take a celebrity, for example, if that person, as you rightly showed with the situation in Gal Gadot and I think it was Huawei and Apple, like she was using something else. Ironically, it's an influencer that outed her essentially, Marquez Brownlee, right? MKBHD is the one who tweeted and said I think she's using an iPhone to do this. But regardless, I'm digressing. So I think a good part of this is, even like in a situation like that, if you notice Gal Gadot wasn't authentic and it's clear that it's money, that's not gonna hurt her in any way. She's still gonna get movies. She's still gonna go on to make blockbusters and going to make money. But there is an added danger and a risk for an influencer to take products that they don't necessarily believe in, because their authenticity is built around the community that they have, and they are monetized based on the community that seeks them out. So if they are not careful, what happens is they lose that traction, and by that any future opportunity. So it works both ways, even for the brand, because when they associate with this particular person, what they're also showing the audience that this person has is, we are not just paying this guy, he actually believes in this. And we actually see how influencers make money, Machang, is essentially in two ways. Like, for example, someone like Casey would make an upfront. They're paid like 25,000, 100,000. I think he spoke about this in one of his videos as well. But most smaller influencers or smaller personalities, the way they actually make money is through affiliate marketing, affiliate links. So essentially, if they are promoting a particular product, you would have seen Squarespace and all these things, right? So those advertisements, make a beautiful site for yourself and things like that. So the way they do it is you would see a coupon code or some sort of link with 10% the influencer
or something.
So a portion of that discount actually goes to the influencer. So he's directly connected to the return on investment. Now, I haven't seen, in at least our local context, anything remotely close to that level yet, because I think our online personality and influencer market space has not matured to that point yet, and I think brands haven't identified on that level as yet. Oddly, because of COVID, I think now, because of the need for online services to have proliferated, more and more people will be attuned to online purchases, which will connect to affiliate marketing, which will connect to influence and so on. But I think we'll have to drag back to our main point. Do we believe that influencers are all hype? I feel, at least my opinion, is that they are hype now, at least in the Sri Lankan context, right? Because they have to be hype in order to build the audience that they have, no matter how hollow that audience might be and not invested in the person or the content. Which essentially brings us to the problem of content, but we'll go into that in a bit. What is your point of view?
No, you said it correctly. Damn it, man. That's exactly what I was going to say. The fact that, look, I mean, you need to be hype. That is the relevancy, the requirement that you need to check to be a good influencer is you need to be hyped, right? You need to be lit. Like, you need to have a good following. That's it, right? You have that, great. Then, a product can come and say, you know what, can we talk about some business, right? But if you fly too close to the sun and you kind of step out of that hype place to overhype,
Icarus, yes.
You know what they said? There's a wise man once said, never go full retard.
Just to outline this though, before we proceed, this episode is brought to you by Common Sense. Okay.
That could be actually, you know what?
Every time,